All right, can you tell us a little bit about this horse?
So Cleo, when I met her last week, was a 9-year-old, predominantly thoroughbred Anglo mare. She was started as a 4-year-old at a trainer's, rested for 4 years. We were told the starting process was normal, okay, no troubles. She was then rested in a paddock with 3 other horses for 4 years. We were told she had a kick injury to the chest in that time that seemed to heal okay and was not an open wound. When I met her, what I was presented with was a very anxious, worried little horse, big horse actually.
Can you tell us about the behaviour that the trainer was experiencing bringing her back into work?
So the trainer expressed that she was nervous in the paddock, pacing the fence line, unable to or hard to catch her and running through fences in the process. When I turned up to catch her, she ran through the fence before I saw her. She was rearing and throwing herself over backwards, not under saddle yet, just in hand work, trying to be lunged, but in that process she was also rearing and throwing herself over backwards. Even at the tie-up, I was told she reared and tried to throw herself over backwards in the tie-up. Generally unsafe and anxious, with no kind of rhyme or reason to when she might rear. It wasn't when she was put under more pressure, it wasn't when she was asked to lunge one way or the other. It was walking in from the paddock or walking out of the round yard or, like I said, in the tie-up. So what I was presented with was I could feel in her chest there was something. I couldn't actually even explain what I was feeling. Her sternum felt off-centre, depressed, pecs were uneven, weighting through the front legs was uneven. I did a range of motion through the front legs. She was unable to adduct her knee across the front of her body, unable to move her scapula in that way. On the offside, there was no lift of her scapula at all. She offered to rear when I asked her to lift her scapula. I did what I could at the time, but I was unhappy and unable to confidently say that she was not displaying constant pain from what I found. I had that conversation with the owner, and she came to it that given her behaviour, her unsafe behaviour, and what I had found,
what they'd already tried,
and what they had already tried. She had already tried vets and other avenues to help make the horse more comfortable, and nothing was helping. So with all of the information that she was armed with, she made the very hard decision to have her put to sleep, which is then when she offered her for dissection, which was extremely brave of her, and we're very thankful. So now Cleo can go on to help educate many other horse owners into the future on more things to look for and how to better help more horses.
Right, so should we have a look at the chest
Yes.
first?
So, what we have is a very crooked thoracic inlet.
I'm standing very directly above, as straight as I can.
Yeah, we've got T1 here, the first ribs. The spacing between the first and second rib on the near side is quite tight. She's, as you can see from the top, quite collapsed on over the near side rib cage. And the offside is quite open compared. What we found on initially skinning her was, we'll insert a picture.
Yes, we will.
But what we found was the musculature over her sternum actually came
Into the near side.
over the sternum into the near side, which, as you'll see from the picture, is really not normal. And that is what we found. That's what we palpated before she was put to sleep.
Mm-hmm. Some of the joint degeneration that we found.
So when we dissected her shoulder, scapula,
Scapula.
all of this wear mid-capsule is not normal. This is degeneration here. And the joint that fits into this, the other side of the joint, although it's a little dirty now, we can see degeneration around here also. At the other end of that, her elbow, well, all of this is really not nice. Degeneration here also on the articulate processes, and the other edge of the elbow. This is not comfortable for a little horse.
For any horse.
For any horse. Knees were
Pretty good.
okay. Knees were okay.
What about the hop here?
In the hock, what we found, again, is the same kind of degeneration that we found in the elbows and shoulder through here.
Despite having reasonable joint fluid, she still had that much wear and tear.
Yeah.
What about the
And
tarsals?
Fusion of the tarsals through here
Can't even fit a scalpel
and
in
here.
there, can we?
No, we couldn't. This is not. These little rows of bones stacked on each other should be quite, well, not quite open, but they should be open, but we could not dissect these at all. There's a little lip here over this section. Which is not nice.
Nope.
What we found further back at the lumbar spine was evidence of kissing spines. As you can see by the fusions here of the dorsal processes. Fusions here of the dorsal processes. This dorsal process actually shows signs of, almost signs of fracture and healing, as you can see by this side here. That has evidence of fracture and healing and in a not normal state. Transverse processes, although meant to be quite close and almost touching through here, they are not meant to be overlapping and fused with spurs, fusions here, fusions and underlapping here, what we can see underneath. These processes underlapping, overlapping, 1, 2, 3 spurs here. This fusion through here between, although we actually accidentally cut the L6 off. The fusions between L5 and 6 is not, to this extent, not normal. fusions here, and again underlapping, overlapping, and spurs. This is pretty sharp in here. This one would have been quite yucky. So what we have here is the cervical spine into thoracic minus the atlas. So the neck of the horse comes down here, the fleshy part of the neck of the horse, and then into the withers. And this is the portion of the withers that what we call the withers. That's what we see there. So under all of this, deep in the horse's neck is where the neck attaches onto the body. So we've got C6, C7, T1.
The first ribs.
First ribs.
Way down there at the start. Yeah.
So what we have here on the underside, these processes are the ones that are involved in the C6, C7 malformation. So if we can pop this neck off, what we will find on the underside is C6 here, C7 here, this process and this of C6 is normal, and this side of C7 is mostly normal. We have some malformation there, but this is mostly normal. This side of C6 is missing this process, and it is transposed.
Let's just have a look at that from this angle.
Onto 7. You can see we're missing this whole process here, and it's transposed here, which, as you can imagine, causes a lot of issues for soft tissue that needs to attach to this process. Now has nowhere to live here. Also coming through here, soft tissue that needs to come through here, and nerves have nowhere to proceed.
You can see that from 5, 4, 3 and 2.
This is normal.
Normal symmetrical.
Yes. What this does through the rest of the body, the rest of the entire body has to compensate. So all of the other things that we've seen in the body, I believe, stem from this. This little horse did not have a huge ridden career. The extent of her ridden career could not have accounted for the damage in her joints, through her thoracic spine and her lumbar spine. It's of our opinion that this genetic malformation of C6 and 7 T1 is what led to Cleo's behavioural issues and damage to her body.
Mm-hmm.
We managed to keep the hyoid intact, but what you can see is this is the occiput, where the atlas attaches, and I can sit that on there and it's not quite straight. And that twist continues throughout the rest of her body. We saw that evident through the rest of her body. Even the mandible is not even.
And back here you can see it.
Yeah, it starts right at the head, but we believe that the twist really comes from the C6-7 malformation. Nothing really quite has a good balance through her entire body.
So why is it so difficult, do you think, why is the imaging of this and the diagnosis of this so tricky?
Well, it is so tricky to diagnose. It looks like it would be so easy to x-ray, but what happens is when we have all the horse together, the scapula sits Up over top. I think we're going up a little more.
Tell me where to.
Yeah, the scapula kind of sits about here.
Probably even more forward,
More, a
doesn't it?
little more forward down your edge, Sam.
More forward.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. So the scapula sits here, and it hides
Hides all of this goodness
hides
in here.
what we need to look at to be able to diagnose the C6-7 malformation. We have the big subscap down here, deep cranial pec, whatever you'd like to call it, and all of the attaching muscles, because we know that the scapular front leg is only attached to the horse by soft tissue. So we have a load of soft tissue here holding the front leg, pecs, holding the front leg on. There is no joint as such to hold the front leg on, so this is what we've got, lots of musculature, and it's incredibly difficult to x-ray these important bits down here. Yeah, you can imagine two scapula
Yeah.
hiding the C6-7 T1.
Right. Can you show us the damage inside
I would love to.
the vertebra?
Firstly, can we have a look at T1?
Oh, yeah.
These processes are not nice and round and even. There's a little scarring on the top of the dorsal, front of the dorsal process, where this has been. So sorry. Crunching down on it. Okay. So what we have between the nice flat articulate processes of C6 and 7, which are meant to be nice and flat, degenerative wear, that would not be comfortable. I don't know what that is.
Not also.
Have a wear here, here, here.
Ouch.
And the same on the, almost, not quite as bad, but on C6 processes also. Wear through here. But also, what's interesting, and I've not seen before, is some cyst-like nodules, which probably aren't all that clear in the video, but they're quite sharp.
Just try and get that.
Yeah, through here, these. Although they don't look like much, that on the edge of the articulate process would be catching and causing issues also. I think it's going to be evident down here as well. Degenerative. It's a little frozen because it's like -5 there this morning.